Welcome in, episode 194, What's Right with Nick Wright, and this episode is brought to you by the McDonald's app. I love the McDonald's app specifically for McDelivery. It's perfect for any situation. Say it's pouring down rain and you don't want to go out to go get a McDouble. Boom, McDelivery. Say your team's playing and you, of course, don't want to miss a single second. That's what McDelivery's for. Let's say it's been a long day. What better way to fix that than a delicious quarter pounder with cheese and a large fry delivered right to you. I love to order McDelivery when I'm watching a game or maybe playing a game with my daughter and don't want to leave the house. And now every time you order McDelivery in the McDonald's app, it earns you points towards free food, and who doesn't like free food? So there's always a reason to order in the McDonald's app. Download the McDonald's app today. At participating McDonald's, delivery prices may be higher than at restaurants. Delivery and other fees may apply. Copyright 2023 McDonald's. All right, welcome in. Big show for us today. It's our gambling show, as promised. Just like last year, right around week 10, right around Thanksgiving, I have turned my season around. I believe I am right at 500. I might be one game below 500, but regardless, we feel great about where I am. I am also disappointed in Damonza's teasers, but not for the reason that people think. I'm not disappointed that Damonza has gotten 8 teasers in a row wrong. That's not what's disappointing. What's disappointing, Damonza, is that week 2 you got it right. Because had you, being 1-9 just sucks. Being 0-10, we could have turned it into a bit. We might have gotten some, a little internet traction. Like this sports betting expert can't hit a teaser save his life. The win in week 2 is what is right now the fly in the ointment. But I haven't looked at it yet. Well, at this point, yeah. But it's just not as fun, the fact that you have that one win mixed in. And the win came early enough.
Right? Oh, wait. Was the last win made it to where I can't?
No, you could still be 500. I mean, there's 18-week regular season. So all you got to do is go from losing 8 in a row to winning 8 in a row, and you'll be right there. And by the way, I haven't looked at the teaser yet this week, but producer Daniel said he loves it, and so we'll see. All right, so let's get to what missed the cut for today's show. LeBron passing Jason Kidd in triple-doubles. Listen, last year the oldest guy in the league was Udonis Haslem, who was essentially a coach who didn't play. This year the oldest guy in the league is LeBron James, who is still unequivocally one of the 7 or 8 best players in the league. I don't even know how to quantify what we're seeing, but the Lakers did lose. AD had a brutal night. He put up the true Draymond, a triple single, which you never want to do. Celtics beat the 76ers. The big win for your Celtics, Damonza. Nice win for them. Especially because the Sixers had beaten them the other day.
Right.
And now the Celtics kind of stabilized, and they did it without, I'll be honest, I didn't watch that game. They did it without Kristaps or Jaylen Brown, right? And so that's an excellent win for them. They're number 1 in the East right now. And Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's parents are going to meet at Monday Night Football. Taylor's dad, famously an Eagles fan, but was wearing a Chiefs lanyard at the Buenos Aires concert along with Travis Kelce when Taylor ran and leapt into his arms. It's going to be, it's going to be something else. I'll tell you something real quick. So your mom, gosh darn it. Maybe I shouldn't. Hold on, let me wait to talk about this. It's not actually a bad thing about your mom. It's about a thing your mom and I are doing that I was considering inviting Travis Kelce to. And then it occurred to me, I was like, if I invited Travis and he actually came, would that then mean Taylor Swift is going, which actually I think would potentially be, as cool as it would be, a bad thing. Like if Taylor Swift goes anywhere, she becomes the center of attention, and the exact event that I'm thinking of, I'm not sure if you would want that, but that's where they're at in their relationship, Damonza. I think these two are going to get married. I really do. I think these two are going to get married. And I think Gabe said, I think this was off the air, but I'll do it on the air real quick. I think Gabe last week said that he thought this might shorten Travis's career because he have ascended to a totally new level of fame, wealth, all of these things. I'm going the other way, which is I really think it would appear Taylor Swift loves that her boyfriend is this awesome athlete. You know, Kevin Wilde says life is high school. That just life is just high school with adults. And his theory on Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce is the following, and it's a pretty sharp one. It's that in high school, Taylor Swift was the band girl, the music girl, who obviously had, you know, her, because she was a pretty well-established musician very young, had her own area of popularity, but still in high school, the star athletes don't really pay attention to the band kids. And now, she is now the star athlete, the homecoming king, if you will, is enamored with her, and she is getting to live out all those high school football games that maybe she didn't get to live out when she was in high school. So I think he's going to play forever now. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's almost like I think I was going to use a bad analogy, so I'm going to back out saying like maybe when somebody has a kid and like lives vicariously through them, but that was bad.
Oh yeah, no, that's I mean that
it's exactly like it's kind of hit or miss there.
It's not exactly, but I understand what you're saying. Like in that analogy, I kind of, not in a bad way the way some people do, but I kind of did that with you when it came to your high school basketball career, because I
wasn't
loved
thinking
high
that or
school
anything, by the
I
way.
know you.
Like,
I know you weren't. No, because usually it kind of has nefarious implications. But I loved high school basketball. It's some of the fondest memories of my life. But I wasn't great. You know what I mean? I was on a small school, bad team, and I was like the fifth guy my senior year on that bad team. You went to a giant school and were the best guy. And so it was super fun for me to be able to see you live that out and kind of, I don't want to say live vicariously, but I got some of the same thrills of seeing you do it. But there was, one other thing on this before we get to the actual show that I will say. It's always dangerous in the age of social media when you get to a whole new level of fame and people start going through old tweets. And especially if you've had tweets from when you were in high school yourself. And it has been absolutely delightful to see that Travis has always been the same super chill, fun guy. All these old tweets that the Swifties are coming about is like him misspelling the word squirrel and talking about feeding a squirrel bread. It's him saying, man, the moon looks amazing. I'm just going to vibe out and watch the moon. It's no misogyny. It's no homophobia. It's no racism. It's not like, Travis Kelce in 9th grade was super problematic. Travis Kelce in 9th grade was crazy high, just chilling. And it's just such a delight because he's such a good dude that he doesn't have to, it really feels like right now he is living the best life he possibly could be. All right, let's get to Chiefs-Eagles. Go ahead.
All right, the Eagles are coming to Kansas City for a little Super Bowl rematch. They've got unfinished business. So if this is a potential Super Bowl rematch, should Andy Reid and the Chiefs keep some tricks under their sleeve, or should they let it all out?
Well, so that's actually a really interesting question, which is, do you want to keep some things in reserve if you have to play this team again? And the answer to that question is, yes and no. For instance, there has been a lot of, and I'm going to take this kind of bigger picture and then we'll get to the Eagles game. A lot of questions about the usage of two Chiefs players in particular who were wildly important last year and this year have seen their snaps and their opportunities cut. And that's Kadarius Toney and Jerick McKinnon. And and this is, by the way, very polarizing within kind of the Chiefs community, if you will, about what's happening. Did McKinnon get old? Is Toney just not as good as people thought he was? All these things. I am strongly of the belief that the Chiefs know with Toney, he cannot stay healthy for an entire season. That has been the knock on him his whole pro career. And McKinnon is a running back into his 30s. I mean, how old is Jet McKinnon? I'm going to check real quick.
He was that old.
I think he's 32, which for a running back, or 31, pardon me, which for a running back makes him one of the older running backs in the league. Tony's very young, but injury prone. Jerick McKinnon, who had the 9 touchdown catches as a running back last year, he's really good. So I believe the Chiefs are not necessarily like saving plays, but saving wear and tear on those two players specifically. I think that they are really trying to make sure those guys give them the best chance they have of being healthy going into the stretch run. Now when it comes to playing the Eagles, I wouldn't hold anything in reserve with one exception. If by some chance, and the odds of this being the case are incredibly low, but if by some chance Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, has figured out how to stop the brotherly shove, I wouldn't show the world that I have figured that out yet. If somehow he is actually, they have realized, wait, there is a way to stop it, here's what we do, I would keep that in reserve. But other than that, you try to go win this football game because you are in such an advantageous position for being able to get the 1 seed. The big story from a Chiefs perspective this weekend was the Chiefs hit a 5-team parlay on best case scenario losses. So the Dolphins didn't play. They lead the AFC East. But the last time they did play, the Chiefs beat them. But this weekend, without playing, the AFC North leader, Ravens, lost. The AFC South leader, Jaguars, lost. A team that has given the Chiefs some trouble, the Bengals, lost. A team that a lot of people thought this was going to be the year. The Bills, they lost and fired their coordinator. And a team that I have no fear of whatsoever, but is in the division and theoretically could try to run down the Chiefs for the division title, the Chargers, they lost. So all of the teams the Chiefs would have wanted to lose this weekend lost. And so their ability to lock up the 1 seed earlier than expected is very possible. Now, if you're going to lose a game, you always want to lose non-conference games rather than conference games. But beating Philly off the bye would send a signal to the rest of the league that a lot of the hand-wringing about the Chiefs was overstated. And one other kind of long-term prediction when you look at the schedule, I think, so week 17, second to last week of the year, on New Year's Eve, the Bengals come to Arrowhead, also known, if you're a Cincinnati fan, as Burrowhead Stadium. I think 2 things are going to happen in that nationally televised one of the games of the year, Damonza. I think the Chiefs will lock up the 1 seed with a week to play, and I think the Bengals will be officially eliminated from the playoffs. I think with a week left, because the Bengals, when we'll talk about them in a moment, they lose tonight, they fall to 5-5. They don't have to quite run the table. They probably have to go to 6-1 the rest of the way. I think that is going to be the final Burrowhead Stadium revenge, is the Chiefs not eliminating them from the playoffs while locking up the 1 seed on December 31st in week 17. You have a follow-up here, Damoza.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like you kind of answered it, but this game, Mahomes is obvious. You said that Mahomes has never lost a meaningful regular season game. With everything riding on this one and it being at home and, it being the Eagles who they played in the Super Bowl last year, would this be a meaningful game?
Well, so people, I think, have misconstrued what I'm saying by never lost a meaningful regular season game. To me, it's a very binary question. Did losing this game cost you anything? And if for the Chiefs, every single playoff game has been played at Arrowhead. They've either been the 1 or the 2 seed every year. you can make the strong argument that all of their regular season losses have been, relatively speaking, meaningless because they still achieved everything you can achieve in a regular season. If the Chiefs end up losing this game and still being the 1 seed, you can't get more than the 1 seed. So from that perspective, I'm saying meaningless. From a mojo or confidence or belief perspective, if you were to play this team again in the Super Bowl, you could say it's meaningful there. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how much is confidence worth to you? Because, I mean, when players – like, I know that after – and I'm not going to bring it back to game 1 of the season anymore this last time.
No, you're fine.
But when they lost the Lions, Mahomes had said – obviously, I guess it didn't matter because they won the next game, but Mahomes is embarrassed. And I don't think I've ever heard him say anything like that.
So
he said he was literally
embarrassed is different. Embarrassed is different than not confident. So I think confidence matters a lot for certain teams. I think the Bills' confidence has been shattered, and you're seeing it manifest itself in moments such as literally not being able to execute a handoff. I mean, that fumble they had on Monday night, the lack of confidence in the coaching staff to where they're firing offensive coordinators. I think the Chiefs, because they have had a nearly unprecedented run of success, are as confident as any team in the league no matter what happens. And I'll say, when we're talking confidence, I'll say this much. Let me put it like this. I think this game is way more meaningful for Philadelphia. Because if you're Philadelphia, and you look at it and you say, okay, we basically never lose when Jalen Hurts plays, except for the 2 times we've played the Chiefs, and we're trying to get back to the Super Bowl, and the overwhelming favorite to be in the Super Bowl on the other side is the Chiefs. So I think from a confidence perspective, this game has a hell of a lot more meaning for Philadelphia. All right, next.
All right, so this is the best Thursday night game that we've had all year, I assume. So the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't count the season opener, that's right. I mean, the season opener is not a real season opener. Who's Chiefs Lions? But
it was.
But that doesn't really feel like a Thursday night game because it's not a short week and all that stuff. But yes,
right.
I agree. Certainly the best since then. But go ahead.
So Burrow and the Bengals are facing off Lamar and the Ravens. You've always voiced the Cincinnati Bengals are the scarier team. So who would you be rooting for in this game? Would you be rooting for a Ravens win, Cincy win? Because everybody's saying the Ravens are the scariest teams of the Chiefs right now.
Well, so I'm rooting for Cincinnati purely from I want the Chiefs to be able to lock up the 1 seed as early as possible. And Cincinnati's not a real contender for the 1 seed. The Ravens technically are. And if the Ravens got another AFC loss, then the Chiefs would be in just a super advantageous position. If the Ravens dropped to 4 losses, all AFC losses, Kansas City would have a de facto tiebreaker over them. They already have the tiebreaker over Miami. They already have the tiebreaker over Jacksonville, to where you'd now be in a point where if any of those teams had the same record as Kansas City would get the 1. So I get, in that regard, I'm somewhat rooting for the Ravens from a kind of more pragmatic standpoint. From an emotional standpoint, I haven't liked the arrogance that some of the Bengals players and fans have exhibited because they beat Patrick Mahomes in overtime once. And the Burrowhead Stadium stuff has really irritated me. And if you remember Orlando Brown, he goes from Kansas City to Cincinnati, and then I don't know if it was Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. One of the receivers was like, this is a big rivalry, and we one-upped them. And now all the Bengals fans are upset with Orlando Brown because he hasn't played that well. I like Burrow and Chase a ton. I think some of the other guys chirp a little much for my liking, but that's fine. I also think it would be really interesting if the Bengals and the Bills both miss the playoffs this year, because it will kind of crystallize how impossible what Kansas City is doing has been. That these two guys that were supposed to be the rivals, they can't even make the playoffs every year, let alone make multiple Super Bowls, let alone, host multiple conference championship games. But who I'm rooting for is maybe not as important as this. I think the Ravens are going to win. I think the Bengals are banged up. The Ravens are coming off a terrible loss because they gave the game away. And I think the Ravens are going to win. Now,
defense is going to mess them up.
Well, that would be the concern. That would be that the Bengals can't block the Ravens. And obviously that was the case in their first matchup. But the first matchup, Joe Burrow's injured, so we kind of throw it out, right? It was week 2. Burrow couldn't move around at all. But now the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey's not expected to play, so covering Chase is going to be a problem. But if you can't block him, then covering him is not as, you know what I mean? Not as critical of a piece of the pie. And so here's what I will say. I think if the Bengals lose this game, they're done. I think if you look at Cincinnati, the only team they would have a tiebreaker over is Buffalo, because they would have been swept by the Ravens. They've already lost to the Browns once, so their best case scenario within the division would be a 3-3 divisional record if they win all the rest of their games. All of their losses are AFC losses. And the rest of the way, they don't have a single cupcake on the schedule. After tonight, they have the Steelers. They're in Jacksonville. They're home for the Colts, which is supposed to be the easiest, but the Colts have 5 wins. They're home for the Vikings, which seemed like an easy one, but the Vikings do have 6 wins. Then they're at the Steelers, at the Chiefs, and home for the Browns, a Browns team that year after year beats them up. If they fall to 5-5, Damonza, they need to go 6-1 the rest of the way. I don't think that's possible. And so I do think the Bengals' season is on the line tonight. I like the Ravens. If I were going to bet it, I'd probably bet the Bengals because 3.5 is too, I kind of on the record on this, that any of these AFC North matchups where it's more than 3 points, unless there's something drastic that's happened with a quarterback, I just think taking the points is smart. But I think the Bengals are in real rough shape if they lose tonight, and I think they are going to lose tonight. And I think Lamar and the Ravens have a point to make about that last week was a fluke. The worry for the Ravens is, while they have been just dynamic and dominant throughout, they have just found a way to give games away. And having double-digit leads and blowing those games, not being able to close out the Colts early in the year, all of that is concerning, but I think tonight they win. All right, next.
I think the Colts beat the Ravens last year, too, for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong.
That might be right, but go ahead.
Yeah, so on Tuesday, Draymond Green was ejected after putting Gobert in a chokehold for grabbing up Klay Thompson. He was hit with a 5-game suspension. You joked, I mean, the Warriors have been a disaster. Steph has been the only one hitting shots, and you joked that they were cooked earlier. But how exactly cooked are they now that all of this is unfolded?
Okay, and by the way, the Colts last year beat the Chiefs. They didn't play the Ravens, but that was the Colts' big shocking win last year was the Chiefs. So I don't think that I've said that the Warriors this year are cooked. I was actually impressed by how they were playing very early in the season. What I have said is,
sorry for not clarifying,
as of late, is that other than Steph, nobody is really carrying their weight, and that is still the case. Now, I don't want to make any big picture proclamations about the Warriors right now. I think they have a trade to make. I think that they probably will make. I don't know what it is, but I don't think this is going to be the exact team they go into the postseason with. And Steph has been so good, and aside from Denver, it doesn't really look like there is a team in the West that you can just pencil in. Go ahead.
Is that trade going to involve Draymond Green, or are you talking about like some of the rookies or something on there?
No. I don't think they're going to trade Draymond or Steph. I'm sorry, Draymond.
of
Obviously not
course.
Steph, but Draymond or Clay. They're obviously not going to trade Steph, but I don't think they're going to trade Draymond or Clay. I still think it's on the board they trade Chris Paul, and it's certainly on the board they trade some of the young guys. And Zach LaVine's available. There are different pieces that will come available throughout the year. This is what I'll say about the Draymond thing. Gobert was correct that when Steph doesn't play, he doesn't want to play. I mean, the fact of the matter is this. Over the last 5 years, Draymond has been ejected from 4 of the nearly 200 games Steph has played. That's 2%. And 7 of the 74 games Steph hasn't. That's 10%. So think about it like this. In the last 5 years, Draymond has been ejected 11 times. 7 of those games were games Steph didn't play. That part's true. What's also true is this. Draymond has, just in the last 3 games, been thrown out of one game, then chirped at Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards lit the Warriors on fire, and then got thrown out of another game for attacking Rudy Gobert. Go ahead, Damoza.
Get him off. The juice is not worth the squeeze with this guy. Like, before you could say that he was the glue or he was the galvanizer for the team. But, dude, you're overstaying your welcome at this point. You're overdoing it. Like, you did what you did before, but now you're just becoming a problem. Like, and the other thing is, like, he said that the Rudy Gobert had his hand around Clay. But, like, dude, he said he had his arm around my guy. Draymond had him hemmed up for like 15 extra seconds after that.
Well, listen, exactly. There is no defending Draymond on this. His own coach, Steve Kerr, was pleading with him to let him go. He targeted Gobert because they have a long-standing beef that, they've never liked each other. He's clearly been waiting to do that. But just in the last 24 games he's played, he stomped on Sabonis's chest. He member in the playoffs and got suspended.
Yeah.
And if you just think over the last 13 months of basketball, for punching Jordan Poole in the face, for stomping on Sabonis's chest, and for putting Rudy Gobert in a 10-second chokehold, he got suspended for a grand total of 6 games. Like, this idea that this is too harsh or anything like that is just an absurdity. It's just totally and the point that I want to make is, as Draymond declines as an athlete and is less and less effective, there's going to be more and more of this shit. There just is. Like, and so your point is the juice is not worth the squeeze. I do feel like retroactively people are forgiving Draymond more and more for punching Jordan Poole because they're seeing how Jordan Poole's acting with the Wizards, and I understand that to a degree. But what's also true is that wrecked their team. That ruined. They were the defending
bad time of the season to do that type of stuff. I mean,
they were
no
the
time to do
defending
it.
Champs. No, they were the defending champs, and it ruined their season before it got off the ground. And so he is going to become more and more volatile as he continues to decline as a player. Go ahead and ask.
Do you think there's a chance that they did this? Do you think there's a chance that he did this on purpose because of the new resting policy and wanted to just get kicked out?
No, I don't. I don't think that at all. I do think it was, especially because he's now suspended for 5 games. Now, right. I do think that Clay also is frustrated. I mean, Clay started this with Jaden McDaniels, who hadn't done anything. And so I think right now the Warriors are a team that has one all-time legendary player that is still playing at a super high level, and 2 other Hall of Famers that are nowhere near that level anymore, and they're struggling with it. I think for Clay and for Draymond, it is not only is it tough not being close to the player you once were, but it might be even tougher because Steph still is. Because the guy who's always been the guy is still, and by the way, he's the oldest of the 3, and he's still at this insane level. And for Clay and Draymond, they're not. All right, let's move on.
Okay. All right, so yesterday Cleveland announced that Deshaun Watson is going to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. The Browns are still in it, though. They're 6-3, even with Watson playing poorly. How far do you think your MVP Myles Garrett can take the defense and the Browns without Deshaun Watson?
So I was shocked yesterday of how many people were arguing that the Browns are now cooked because of the injury. They obviously can't make the Super Bowl, but I didn't think they could make the Super Bowl before. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, they've already banked 6 wins. They still have, here's their remaining schedule. This week, home for the Steelers. Tough one, but about a coin flip game. At the Broncos, maybe tougher than we thought a month ago, but absolutely winnable. At the Rams cannot block the Browns. I think that is a Browns win. Home for the Jags, they're going to lose that. Home for the Bears, that's a win. At the Texans, tough one. Home for the Jets, that's a win. And then at the Bengals, the final week of the year, I still think the Browns make the playoffs. And here's the other piece of it. I know that Deshaun's final half pre-injury, he played really well. He was 14 of 14 and played well. Over the totality of the season, the Browns are dead last in the NFL in passer rating. They're 6-3 despite Deshaun, P.J. Walker, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson combining for a 67 passer rating, 8 touchdowns and 12 picks, and 180 passing yards per game. Dead last. They have gotten worse quarterback play than the Jets, than the Patriots, than any team. Deshaun this year was averaging 185 yards passing per game, had an 84 rating, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. In this last game, he was as bad as he's ever been in the first half, and then was excellent in the second half. There's no denying it. So I think they're going to be okay. Now, I also think that long-term, it's a disaster, and their decision to trade Josh Dobbs before the year and a 7th-round pick for a 5th-round pick goes down as one of the worst misevaluations of a guy you have in the building that we've seen recently. If they had Josh Dobbs, they'd be fine, but I still think this is a playoff team. You got some follow-ups there?
Yeah, so this Watson injury isn't just about the injury. So he obviously has the season-ending injuries and isn't going to be available, but he obviously just got that huge contract. What do you think this means for player and their contracts and player empowerment for the future?
Well, listen, I think it was pretty clear when Joe Burrow and Lamar and Jalen couldn't get fully guaranteed deals that this was a one-off, and it's even more validated that it's a one-off by the fact that the Browns so deeply regret it. What is noteworthy about it, and I want to, listen, there are very few things on the internet that people say to me that irritate me. Oddly, one of the things that really irritates me is when folks try to actually me on understanding the salary cap in the NFL. Guys, I almost can guarantee you, unless you are tweeting from an NFL front office, I understand it better than you do. And maybe I understand it. Maybe you understand it as much as I do. But I made the point on television yesterday that the bones of the Deshaun Watson contract, it was a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed deal. So if they had simply spread it out all evenly, then it would be a $46 million per year cap hit, okay? That's what it would be. They decided in year one that, you know what we're going to do is, because he has a pending suspension, we're going to pay him basically the league minimum in year one, so the game checks that he loses, it doesn't, he loses as little money as possible. And Browns fans came to me and said, that's what every team with every contract does. No, they don't. Now, they very often in year one have the base salary low because the player's getting the giant signing bonus check, so they don't matter, and then they can spread that out over the course of the deal. But making it literally the league minimum was a unique move that at the time everyone understood was in part to protect him from losing money in the suspension. You can call it unethical, you can call it immoral, you can call it whatever you want. That's what they did. But that meant the 5-year $230, from a cap perspective, essentially turned into a 4-year $220. So now that's $55 million per year against their cap, okay? But then this offseason, they restructured it to give them more cap flexibility this year. So his cap hit this season was only $20 million. And I understand folks love to add, they're like, oh, the salary cap is fake. People that don't understand actually how the salary cap works, that's what they say. They're like, oh, the cap is fake. You can always move money around. And as I've said before, and I will say again, you can, but those bills come due. So I will try to explain this as simply as possible for the fake GMs out there that for some reason think they have a better understanding of this stuff than I do. Again, there are a lot of people that talk about this stuff that actually know what they're talking about, and they are maybe less abrasive than I am, some of my contemporaries in the media. Maybe they have, and more power to them. But I cannot stand, I just can't stand folks that I wouldn't trust to balance a checkbook tell me that this is actually how the cap works. It's not complicated, guys. They have guaranteed Deshaun Watson $230 million. At some point, that means $230 million of cap charges are going to be applied to the Cleveland Browns. So, when 2 years into the deal, last year and this year, the total cap charges to the Browns have been right at $30 million, that means over the next 3 years of the deal, and then you can add some dummy years, $200 million must be up against the cap. So what does that mean? That means, very simply, Deshaun Watson for the Browns next year has a cap charge of $64 million. The following year has a cap charge of $64 million. The following year has a cap charge of $64 million. Now, if you actually can do math, you might say, wait, 64 plus 64 plus 64, that's only 192. You said it was 200. Yes. And then a year after the contract's over, he has a void year where he's not on the team or they've given him a contract extension that has a cap charge of $8 million. The point that I am making is this. The Cleveland Browns kept borrowing from future Cleveland Brown years to accommodate the Deshaun Watson contract. They, as it turns out, correctly believed this year, we have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Let's go try to win it right now. Unfortunately for them, Deshaun was bad and now he's hurt. What that means in practical purposes is this. Deshaun Watson, not via cash, via cap, is still owed $200 million and only has 3 years left on his deal. That's why each of the next 3 years, Deshaun Watson will have the highest cap charge in NFL history. And if Browns fans want to come to me and say, well, Nick, what they'll do is they'll restructure it again. Okay, maybe they will. But that bill is coming due, and your runway to pay that bill is shortening. And so the too long didn't listen version is this was their opportunity, and that bill is now coming due in spades. And I think the best Browns defense we're going to have seen is this year's. And unfortunately for them, they had a ineffective quarterback and now an injured quarterback. And I think they are about to be in a spin cycle of
any other team would
purgatory.
Take
Go ahead.
In that contract?
So Barnwell asked that question, which was, if you basically offered him up for a 7th-round pick, would someone take it on? So here is what I think folks need to understand. He might be tradable because when you trade for a player, all you're trading for is the base salary. So if a team wanted him, they would owe him only 46 times 3. What's that? 138. They would owe him $138 million fully guaranteed for the next 3 years. Now the Browns would still owe a $62 million dead cap hit, either all next year or spread over the next 2 years, because of his signing bonus and his restructuring accelerating onto the cap. I do think a team might take a flyer on him if they wanted to cut the cord. I do, because $46 million a year for 3 years is not as onerous as what the Browns are looking at, but I don't think they're going to admit defeat, and I don't think that's what they're going to do. I will tell you this much, though. This Browns team with Baker Mayfield right now would be a legitimate AFC contender. It absolutely would be. All right, last thing.
All right, Dan Orlovsky went on Pat McAfee's show earlier this week and said that he's heard that Bill Belichick is leaving next year and already knows where he's going. Would Belichick leaving New England as a loser prove that Tom Brady was the one, providing for his legacy this whole time?
No, no. I'm not going to let people do the revisionist history on this. Like, the first 3 Super Bowls the Patriots won, they were a far better defense than offense. The last Super Bowl the Patriots won, they held the Rams, who were the second highest scoring team in the league that year, to 3 points. This was obviously a great part. Now, Belichick has lost his fastball. His drafts have been bad as of late.
But
the idea that maybe people don't like him. That's fine. He's probably earned that. But the fact of the matter is, he's the greatest coach of all time and was the architect of the greatest dynasty of all time. Now, I do think he's not going to be on the Patriots next year. I do think that part's correct. But the follow-up here is, I think, interesting. So go ahead and ask that.
Yeah, so you're obviously in the business, and you hear things as well. For fans, explain what it means to quote-unquote hear things.
Okay, so that usually means...
Also, let me ask this. And how do you determine what you can and cannot say on air?
Well, all right, so these are complicated questions. The hearing things usually means 1 or 2 people that I kind of believe know, but I'm not dead certain have said it. So I will repeat it with the couching of I'm not actually reporting this. Like that, just it's out there in the ether. My only concern when things are the hearing things stuff is how much of it is a snake eating its tail. So I said on the air 3 weeks ago that I think what's going to happen is that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to trade a 2nd-round pick for Bill Belichick. I have no sourcing on that. The sourcing was my brain. I was like, the Chargers are probably going to fire Brandon Staley, but they probably like Kellen Moore, want to keep him. They want someone to come in. Belichick will want to go to a team with a quarterback to try to get Shula's record. Like, this seems to make sense. I was not reporting that at all, and I didn't pretend I was. I just said, of the teams that might trade for him that Belichick would want to go to, what's the Venn diagram? I said the Chargers. Over the last couple weeks since I said that, more and more people are saying that. And then you have Orlovsky saying on McAfee, he's hearing. So I always wonder on the hearing things stuff if what sometimes happens is, and I'm not saying that's what's happening here.
You got Soulja Boy in here, ladies and gentlemen. But go ahead, sorry.
What does that mean?
I said, I was the first one to do this. I did that,
No, that's not what
I started saying
no,
this.
first of
you
all,
first got to breathe.
No,
sorry.
No, that's
bad.
not what I'm saying. If you're gonna make a joke, have it A, be one the audience understands, and B, be one that actually makes sense. So the reason I brought that up is I wonder at times if what happens is someone throws something out there that is just their opinion that gets interpreted as a
breaking
half
news,
a report, and then an actual someone that might have inside information in the background repeats it like, oh, well, this is out there. But then when they say it, it actually becomes a little newsy, and then all of a sudden people are hearing it. Does that make, like, if I were to, I'll use a different, just kind of fake example. If I were to say so I'm pals with Adam Lefko, right? Who's on Inside the NBA guy. If he and I are talking basketball, and he's a big Sixers fan, and he says to me, just chatting, he's like, yeah, I think the Sixers should go after, and I'm making this up entirely, I think the Sixers should go after Zach LaVine, right? And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It'd be an interesting fit. They have the pieces, whatever. And then on TV, I go out and I'm like, one of the places to watch Zach LaVine at is Philly. I was talking to, an NBA person recently. They really liked the fit, right? So I didn't say that. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people know that I have a relationship with the guy who runs the Sixers, Daryl Morey. They could hear me say that, assume that when I said, I was talking to an NBA person, they like the fit, that's who I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, hearing Zach LaVine connected to the Sixers, when in reality it would have just been because a Sixers fan who's a buddy of mine said he liked the fit, and that is the difference between, I'm hearing such and such, and you got to know who's saying it. If Jay Glazer, who doesn't report many things but has a near perfect hit rate, says he's hearing things, it probably means he's hearing it from an actual decision maker. If I say it, Damonza could have mentioned it. Who knows? Like, that did happen. That did happen in a very roundabout way. I was on TV and we were playing a Jordan Poole highlight, and I just said in passing, I was like, yeah, and I can't believe some people thought this guy could average 30 a game. And Wilds is like, nobody thought he could average 30 a game. And I said, no, some of our colleagues did. I can't even remember who, but I heard it. And then I realized the who was Damonza.
Wait, so yeah, so
way,
you said earlier that you didn't get my joke. I got the joke. You just didn't get it. It's cool. It's fine.
Well, you got the joke. You told the joke.
Wait, but the fans also got the joke. It wasn't just me. It was the fans.
Oh, the chat got the joke?
There's like 8 folks in the chat saying that they got the joke. Soulja Boy said that he was the first rapper to do this, that, and the third, and he's like not the first. And that's just his bit, and you like had like a start to a Soulja Boy.
But I wasn't saying, okay.
You weren't saying you were the first one to do something. You were saying you were the first one to say something, and then they ran off with it. I do think the Belichick Chargers thing was not a thing people were talking about 3 weeks ago when I kind of threw it out as a possibility on First Things First. I am not claiming that is why people are now talking about it, though. I do think that a month ago it wasn't really out there in the ether, and I just kind of put it together because there are not a lot of places that I think are going to fire their coach that also Belichick would want to go to that have a quarterback, but the Chargers do. All right, do our gambling show next. What's right? I'm not going to do it. I can't do it.
All right, welcome back in What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 194. And the holidays are upon us, and I know everyone will start thinking of what gifts to buy their significant others. I know I have. Well, I'm excited to share a great holiday gift idea with you. Lightbox. Lightbox lab-grown diamonds, proudly grown from 100% renewable wind energy at the Lightbox Lab in Portland, Oregon. Not only that, but they're very simply priced. Lightbox's lab-grown diamond jewelry ranges from classic studs, more of the moment tennis bracelets, drop earrings, and so much more. I know my wife would like any of those. Lightbox lab-grown diamonds are perfect for family, friends, or even yourself. Make it easy for yourself and get everyone something special with a discount code we have for you. Shop now at lightboxjewelry.com and use promo code Nick Wright for 10% off site-wide. That's lightboxjewelry.com, promo code Nick Wright for 10% off site-wide. All right, now our Week 11 picks coming off our best week of the year, 3-1-1. Listen, we have not been dynamite this year, but as I said, hovering right around 500, and looky there. 50 games in, 24, 25, and 1. Now that's still minus 3.5 units, but only a game below 500, and this was right around where we were last year when we got red hot. So the picks last week, Jacksonville +3 was obviously a disaster. They got annihilated. But the other ones, Cleveland +6, they went outright. Houston +7, they went outright. Detroit -3, that's a push against the Chargers, so be it. And Dallas -16.5 against the Giants went exactly how I told you it was going to go. Now, once again, I got a little unlucky in that I did my 3 picks on TV, which I pick from here, and I had 5 picks to choose from. I included the 1 loss, so that's unfortunate. So instead of going 3-0 or 2-0-1 on television, I went just 2-1. But we're 24, 25, and 1 on the year. Damonza, what's my first pick of the week?
Your first pick of the week is Pittsburgh +1 at Cleveland. Now you can get it at +1.5.
Okay, so Pittsburgh +1.5. So the Cleveland is starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a 5th-round rookie, who listen, he only started 1 game this year, and that was the game Deshaun Watson pulled himself out of a couple hours before kickoff. He was terrible, but I'm not going to hold that against him. He didn't get the full week of practice, and he didn't know he was going to start. I thought Dorian Thompson-Robinson was excellent in the preseason, and I think he'll be okay. I just don't know if he'll be okay this week. I also, maybe I'm the only one, I respect what the Steelers have done. I know that they probably, from a metrics and a stat standpoint, they shouldn't be 6-3, but they are. I picked them before the year to win that division. I still think they're live to do that. I think that the offense has, I don't want to say gotten better, but shown a few signs of life over the last couple weeks since Matt Canada moved down from the booth to the sideline. And right now, I told you, AFC North teams getting points. I said it, more than 3.5 is an almost must bet. I'm not betting the Thursday night game tonight, but I know this is only 1.5. I just like Pittsburgh in this spot. AFC North division games, underdogs are 69, 46, and 3 against the spread in the last decade. And Tomlin as a dog has been one of the most profitable plays in the NFL over the last 5 years. So I like Pittsburgh. I think they're going to win outright. Go ahead, Damonza.
Speaking of years, this is going to be the second lowest NFL over-under in the last 10 years. So a lot of defense being played, a lot of not scoring.
Really? Hold on. What's the total? The total in this game's 33?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sounds about right. I mean, that's considering what both teams have.
That's not a 33-point NFL over, not under, is, and I'm looking right now at 32.5 in some spots. That's crazy. 32.5 for Saints Browns last year, and 33 or 32.5 this week. That's wild. I didn't realize that. And again, you're not getting a lot of points, but give me 1.5 if they lose 17-16. I guess what Vegas, and that, by the way, if it's a 33-point total and it's a point and a half spread, that's what Vegas is saying. This is a 17-16 Cleveland win. All right, next.
Next, you've got Jacksonville -6.5 versus Tennessee.
Yeah, Jags at home, bounce back spot. after getting blown out by the Damonza doesn't like it. He's making a very unattractive face about it. I don't think you want that on for the YouTube audience, pal. And one of the mistakes some gamblers make is in a positive or negative direction, overreacting to what we saw last 1 week ago. I understand the Jags couldn't block the Niners. The Niners looked like a machine, and the Jags looked terrible. The Jags, here's a good stat from our producers. Good teams above 500, who scored less than 14 points in the previous week over the last decade, are 101-77 against the spread in the last decade. Why? Because people overreact to them. Jacksonville at home against Tennessee should be laying more than a touchdown. They're laying 6.5. I understand Vrabel getting points typically. He's not quite Tomlin, but he's in that realm. I just don't like this Tennessee team at all. Jacksonville needs this game, especially with Houston coming on hot for the division. And that's a losable game next week against Houston. The Jags are not losing 3 straight. They are a good team. Their losses this year have come to the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Niners. Two excellent teams.
The question isn't if they're going to lose. It's if they're going to win by 7.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think they actually win by double digits. I like the Jags minus 6.5. Next.
Seahawks -1 at the Rams.
All right, all of the trends on this are bad for me. McVay owns Pete Carroll, which I understand has been a problem. Geno as a favorite is not good. This is a very straightforward one. I think the Rams right now are actually slightly overvalued. They're obviously, and we talk about this every week, they obviously are not going to have home field advantage in any of these games. And the Rams coming into the year, people thought this could be one of the worst teams in football. They threw everyone off the scent because in week 1 against Seattle, they blew them out. And people were like, oh, maybe the Rams are going to be legit. They're not. Since then, their wins have come in overtime against the Colts and against the Cardinals, who were, at the time, maybe the worst team in football. I think the Rams have a brutal offensive line. I think Seattle is a good team that has real trouble with the best teams in the league. They lost to the Bengals. They got blown out by the Ravens. I don't think they're going to have trouble with the Rams here. I don't mind laying the points, especially because I think it'll probably be at least 50-50 Seahawks fans there. And I think the Rams are in a rough spot moving forward the rest of the year when you look at what the Rams have on their schedule. After the Cardinals game, it's hard to they have the Cardinals and the Giants. Aside from that, I don't know if they have another win on their schedule. I like Seattle, but I shouldn't say bounce back spot because they won last week against the Commanders, but I like Seattle. I'm only laying a point. I'll take Seattle -1.
You've got my blessing on that one. It's a good
you
one.
like that one. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. Next.
Minnesota +2.5 at Denver.
Yeah, I think people are right now overvaluing Denver and undervaluing Minnesota. Minnesota's coached very well by Kevin O'Connell. Josh Dobbs has played well. And Denver, man, Buffalo did everything they could to lose that game, and Denver still almost gave it to them. Denver still tried to give it right back to them. I think it's very interesting watching Sean Payton call plays for this Denver team because even though Russ has some of his numbers are shockingly good, Sean Payton clearly doesn't trust him and is trying to coach around the quarterback and the play calling. I don't think that will work against Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to be able to take care of the football. Minnesota is in a spot where they are, they can't obviously lock up a playoff spot, but because it is so hard to find a third wild card team in the NFC other than Minnesota, they're in a really strong position. They also maybe are tricking themselves into thinking they could run down Detroit in the division. Minnesota is going to win this game outright. I like Minnesota. I'm really surprised by this line. I guess it's Josh Dobbs on the roads against a defense that has played well the last month. And credit to that defense. It has played well. It's played really well since giving up those 70 points. Played well against the Chiefs twice. Played well against Josh Allen. I just think Minnesota is a better team than the Denver Broncos. And I think right now Denver, on a short week after an emotional win, is primed for a bit of a letdown spot. After a couple emotional wins, I should say, beating the Chiefs, then beating the Bills. I like Minnesota plus the 2.5. All right, last one.
I think that's going to be a good game. Last one, you got Kansas City minus 2.5 at Philly. Or versus Philly, sorry, at home.
Yeah, at home. Yeah, I don't care about the Mahomes against the spread numbers because he's almost always such a huge favorite. It's so rare to be able to get the Chiefs laying less than a field goal. When you have that opportunity, I think it's almost a must bet. If you remember, they were underdogs in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati, despite it being at Arrowhead because of Mahomes' injury. They were underdogs in the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs, Andy Reid off a bye, is about as good as it gets in this league. Now, I understand the Eagles are also off a bye, but Mahomes' unwavering confidence that the offense is going to get it going is incredibly encouraging. Say it again.
All you need? Feel warm and
yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs' defense is excellent, and Mahomes absolutely, it does not seem like false bravado that the Chiefs are going to get it going on that side of the ball. I was about to say,
would he be like, we don't have it figured out? Like, that's obvious. I feel like that's the stance he's going to take.
No, but I just believe, those are, you're right, he wouldn't say it. He wouldn't say that he didn't have confidence, but I believe him. And the way he has said it and the way he has conducted himself after the Dolphins win, when the offense didn't play well and the Chiefs won, he seemed more confident than had they won 35-32, because I think he believes correctly the offense will get it figured out, and that Chiefs defense just dominated what had been the highest scoring offense in the league. And so the Chiefs are at home, laying less than a field goal off a bye against an Eagles team that, while their record is excellent, and I have massive respect for the Eagles, it's not like they have looked like a flawless team up to this point in the season. This is, to me, a great spot for the Chiefs to remind everyone they're still the best team in the NFL, hands down. I'll lay the 2.5 with Kansas City. So, the picks for the week: Pittsburgh plus 1.5 at Cleveland, Jacksonville minus 6.5 against Tennessee, Seattle minus 1 at Arizona, Minnesota plus 2.5 at Denver, and the Chiefs minus 2.5 against Philly. All right, Damonza, what's your teaser this week, pal? Last week, we know, another 2-1 teaser. The Jags screwed you. Sorry about that, pal. What's the teaser this week?
Yeah, so we lost last week's, obviously. This week is a 3-team, 7.5 point teaser. We're teasing the Cowboys from minus 10.5 to minus 3 against the Panthers.
At Carolina. I like that.
We're teasing the Steelers from plus 1.5 to plus 9 versus the Browns. And then we're teasing the Detroit Lions from minus 7.5 to just a pick 'em versus the Bears. And I just think the Lions are going to lose that game.
Damonza, this is an A-plus teaser. I'm going to show my confidence in you by betting a full unit of my own on it. You're going to win this week.
I'm surprised you're not saying anything about the Detroit leg.
No, you got it through all the key numbers. It's fine. The only argument would be, would you want to do a 7-point teaser to get a little more value on your money? You still get Pittsburgh plus 8.5 and Detroit from a pick'em to plus half points, same thing. The problem there is then you don't get Dallas to the 3. At least now somehow Dallas only wins by 3. So I think it's the right numbers. I think it's an A triple plus. I think it's going to win. Take a quick break. Answer some of your questions in the chat. What's right? All right, welcome back in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 194. This episode of What's Right is brought to you by the McDonald's app. I love the McDonald's app for McDelivery. It's perfect for every situation. Let's say it's pouring rain. Don't want to go out. Get your delicious McDouble, McDelivery. Let's say your team's playing. You don't want to miss a single snap. McDelivery. Or let's say it's been a long day. Better way to fix that than getting delicious quarter pounder with cheese and a large fry delivered right to your door. I love to order McDelivery when I'm watching a game or hanging out with my family. And now every time you order McDelivery in the McDonald's app, it earns you points towards free food. Who doesn't like free food? So there's always a reason to order in the McDonald's app. Download the McDonald's app today at participating McDonald's. Delivery prices may be higher than at restaurants. Delivery and other fees may apply. Copyright 2023 McDonald's. All right, Damonza, we got to get out of here. So let's answer Matthew Flowers' question and then get moving.
Nick Wright, what would happen in this game to make you lose confidence in the Chiefs short of injury to star players?
Nothing. Nothing. The
Maybe Mahomes throwing 3 picks against that bad secondary.
No. Folks want me. Here's the thing. It'd be one thing if my level of confidence for the Chiefs was irrational. But people, and if you wanted to call it irrational going into last season, when Mahomes had just played that terrible second half against the Bengals and the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, so be it. You could have. But when they're coming off winning a Super Bowl when Mahomes was playing on one leg, and when you're seeing the rest of the alleged contenders in the AFC self-immolate, I don't know why you would believe that I would have anything other than full, complete confidence that this is the best team in football. All right, great job, everybody. I got to go. We got to get to television. Have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you guys at 3 o'clock today on First Things First. What's right? Hey, it's Nick Wright. Thank you so much for watching. Please do us a favor. Click subscribe. It helps my ego, and Damonza's got a financial bonus writing on a number of YouTube subscribers, so help him out. And also, click the bell. I don't know what the bell does, but they tell me to tell you to click the bell. And if you're audio listeners, people that have commutes, drives, whatever it is, subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get the podcast. Same show, just in your ears instead of through your eyes. All that. Check it out. Appreciate y'all.